This gospel is one of the harder ones sometimes that we hear, because it seems that what is just or what is correct is not being done. And, well, how do we understand what is being doing here? Because obviously Jesus is using the vineyard master, the owner of the vineyard, as the example of what to do. And so what is going on in here? What is the dynamic between the one who worked the least gets the same pay as the one who worked the most? Because a lot of times that's probably where we go with it. And that doesn't seem fair. The one who works more should earn more. The one who works less should earn less. However, that's not the lesson that the gospel is telling us today. A lot of it's actually related to then Luke when we hear about the prodigal son. Because the complaint, at least for those that are inside the gospel, the workers, is that they are being made equal to one that they do not see themselves equal with. The ones who worked all day obviously do not see themselves as equal as the ones who worked less hours than them. In the same way, we see the prodigal son. The problem with the brother, the older brother who stayed and was faithful, was that the father receives the son and almost makes him equal. The son that ran away and spent all the money and disgraced himself and comes back at the last minute is now made equal with the older brother who stayed behind and was faithful and continued doing all his father's work. And so he resents that. Well, at the end, what is going here, and the point that Christ is making, is that, well, the Lord is Lord. He's the Lord of all. He's the Lord of everything. And so if we are to consider this payment or what is just, and if we put it an equal sign and bring it to the same side as salvation, then is not the Lord free to save whom he desires? Yeah, there's some of us that have been more faithful in life longer than others. And some, thank God, will catch on a little before it's too late. And so the Lord does not hold doesn't hold that against us. On the contrary, he's saying he'll come and receive us even at the last minute. And that's what it is at the end. And we hear this over and over and over again. Even Abraham trying to bargain for at least one just person in Sodom and Gomorrah to save the city. And if there's just at least one just man, well, God will spare for that one just person. And so the Lord, we're reminded, is the Lord of all. He is free to save. He is free to act. He's not obliged by us in a certain way. And this is kind of the way that man used to see his relationship with God. I make a deal with you. I do this, now you owe me something. God doesn't owe us anything. On the contrary, we are in debt to God for everything. And so this dynamic of owing, or who owes who what, is really what comes in here. Am I not free to do with what I wish with my own money? Am I not free to save the one I wish? Are we envious because the Lord is generous? He calls those that have been with him from the beginning, and he calls those even at the last minute. The last will be first and the first will be last. Is our resentment sometimes because, yes, God has made us equal with others, or made others equal with us? Many times that is the issue. And this is put in contrast with the unjust Lord that we hear in the first reading, and we hear this denunciation of the pastors of Israel, the prophets and the leaders and the kings and even the priests of Israel. They are like pastors or shepherds who take advantage of their flock. Well, in a certain way, the shepherd of the flock is the Lord of the flock. Is he not free to do whatever he wants with his sheep? And so some of these pastors and these leaders of Israel, and we can say at the same time leaders of the church, may even feel that entitlement. However, there's a right way and a wrong way of doing things. And there's a way of presuming something that is not ours. And sometimes that sin of pride enters when one tries to make himself equal to the Lord. That's perhaps what the pastors were doing, making themselves equal to the Lord in the way they would treat or judge others. But at the same time is also the sin or the problem of the workers that we hear, making themselves equal with the landowner, determining what he should do with his wealth when it's not for them to decide. And so, at the end of the day, when we go and punch our cards, because each one of us one day will have to punch that card, let us not take that pride, and let us not be tempted by that pride to look and see the card of the other and pretend to judge the wage that that one merits, because it's not for us to decide. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.